How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. We have a pause in the Iran-US strikes, which is causing the market to do some interesting things today. Oil is down nearly 7%, which is a huge day for oil. That means that the 10-year is also down. We had a very green market that's just been going more and more red throughout the day, but yet a lot of the major hyperscalers like Google, Microsoft, even Meta are up significantly still. So let's talk about what's happening with the market. Let's talk about something interesting happening with MicroStrategy, something that they've never done before. And we'll talk about Bitcoin as well. If you don't mind, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this one. There's still a few days left if you want to get in on this BitFi event, where basically the more you trade, the more you get in free Bitcoin. We run this every single month for everyone that's ever signed up. And if you sign up now, you can be included in all the future events. Basically, again, cumulative trading, you can get up to $10,000 worth of Bitcoin every single month when we run this. There's someone that's gotten, I think, 6 figures worth of Bitcoin over this time period. So check this out. Best exchange for like ongoing rewards. Ubit is doing some good bonuses though right now too, and the UI is great. You can check that out in the link tree as well with the link to BitFi and BTCC, which has up to $10,000 worth of bonuses per new user, 40% lower trading fees, and you get a 10% deposit bonus on your first time deposit. Now let's look at the market. So we have the Dow up just slightly, even though it's fallen down throughout the entire day. The NASDAQ just flipped red. The NASDAQ down, I think I said maybe the NASDAQ twice, but S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are down. VIX is actually up a little bit, which is interesting. All of a sudden, around 9 a.m., the VIX started to pop up. Oil, though, down 7% on the day because apparently the U.S. and Iran have paused fighting for a second day in a row. Iran came out and said that we won't agree to anything on the U.S.'s terms or timeline. So it's just an interesting market. Again, I stick to what I've said before, which is you can't play this market based on the US-Iran war. Even though it's affecting the markets a lot, like just don't try to buy things and try to time, like with timing around this war, because we really have no idea when it's going to be done or what's going to happen or anything like that. Now, the 10-year treasury is coming down most likely because oil's coming down, which is causing some stocks in the market to do quite well. It's, like I said, a weird market because right now we have some of the hyperscalers like Google up 2.6%. We have Uber up 2.6%. We have Microsoft up 2.6%. MasterCard up 2.3%. Melly, which is like a South American, Central American, Amazon up 2.3%. Netflix up 1.6%. Meta up 1.25%. And then like the rest of the market is down. Nvidia is actually down 5%. Big red day there. AMD, pull up AMD. Micron down 5.25%. AMD down 8%. So just the semis getting smacked today. This could be the reason. I haven't really seen much else. Nvidia is in talks to provide roughly $250 billion in financing guarantees for OpenAI as part of a massive data center project, the Wall Street Journal reported on Sunday. The backstop from Nvidia would help the ChatGPT maker lease a 10-gigawatt project that SoftBank subsidiary SB Energy is developing in southern Ohio, the newspaper said, citing people familiar with the matter. For OpenAI, a deal like this would mark the first step towards controlling its own infrastructure instead of renting capacity from Microsoft, Amazon, Oracle, while for NVIDIA, it would guarantee demand for its chips for years to come. This sounds like something that would be good for NVIDIA, good for the major hyperscalers, but maybe bad for Amazon and Microsoft. And yet we're actually seeing the opposite. Maybe there are some concerns that there's this like circular financing. Hey, NVIDIA is going to provide $200 billion in financing, and then OpenAI is going to buy a bunch of chips from them. And it's just this like balance sheet worry that some of these companies really aren't that strong. And eventually the AI trade will unravel because it's just being supported in a circular motion. Now, I think it's probably overblown. Maybe I'm missing something and there's something else happening today, but that's the only real news that I could see. That being said, I have not invested heavily in the hyperscalers or the chip makers. I've been investing heavily in the hyperscalers, not the chip makers, not the memory players. I think the hyperscalers like Amazon, Google, and Meta will do very well long term. And they're going to be the ultimate beneficiary of all this spend. But right now, the market's very scared of them. So I'm going to continue to buy these quality companies that are undervalued, and I'm happy to wait. Now, Strategy has been a company that has been making a lot of news recently in the crypto world because their STRC product has been depegged, right? It's in around $87 to $88 right now. They just diluted shareholders. They did something that they've never done before. They purchased 288,930 shares of STRC for about $25 million at an average price of just under $87 per share. We intend to remain a regular disciplined buyer of STRC below $100, more at steep discounts, less as STRC nears $100. Another $975 million remains available for our preferreds. So they raised money to be able to buy back shares. They bought back shares. This is their crown jewel, STRC. Now, STRC today, let's look it up. Is it moving up? On this news, it's up about 1%. It was up more. It went up to $89, but since then it's come down about 1.5%. I think this is not that much money for them to spend on STRC, but it's probably a good indication to the market, like, hey, don't worry, we'll buy back shares. If you're going to sell them to us, we'll buy them back. And maybe we'll make people feel a little bit more confident. Now, how did they do this? Well, they dilute shareholders. They also increased their USD reserve by $525 million, achieving 2.1 years of dividend coverage. As of late July, we hold about 843,775 Bitcoin in our Bitcoin reserve and 3.75 billion in our USD reserve. Okay, so they do have a significant amount of USD. I'm not sure exactly why. I guess they have $3.75 billion. They'll be buying back SCRC, but in small amounts. So they're really just accounting for their dividend coverage here. Let's look at how this is affecting MSTR stock, because now MSTR shareholders realize, okay, well, now they can dilute us not only for cash, not only for Bitcoin, but also to buy back shares of STRC. So far, the stock is actually reacting really well, up 5.25%. I think this makes sense because people are really worried that STRC is going to depeg and go down to $0, and MSTR is just not going to be able to buy back enough STRC and never get it repegged. And because of this, people will be really worried about MSTR in general, that they might get diluted a lot. And that's kind of like the main fear for MSTR investors, is that STRC gets out of control and dumps MSTR stock as well. Now, I think MSTR is definitely like a swing trade to me. If I don't see it as a 10-year hold. I think part of that's just that they change what they're trying to do very often, or they have in the last 5 or 6 years. At first, they were just trying to be a leverage play on Bitcoin. Now they're trying to create this whole credit instrument, but they're diluting the main shareholders significantly to be able to pay out these dividends. Of course, I think there's some benefit to it because eventually they'll be able to buy more and more Bitcoin, probably get better return on that versus something like what they're paying on STRC. But it just gets very confusing trying to run the numbers, trying to keep track of how valuable this company really is with all their debt and all their preferreds, and how do you factor in dividends and all that kind of thing. So in general, I think it makes sense maybe as a swing trade if you want to do that, but I think Bitcoin spot is much easier to understand and much easier to account for. And then also, if I was going to get more aggressive, I'd be using leverage instead, because that also is much simpler. If you use 2 or 3x leverage on Bitcoin, you know exactly where your liquidation price is, you know exactly the mechanics of it. But STRC has a lot of moving parts, and MSTR does as well. That being said, Bitcoin is approaching the very bottom. This is Aaron Bennett pointing out that typically we top after about 1,064 days. It's kind of crazy how close these numbers are every single cycle. I don't think they're exactly to the peak, but within a few days of the peak, you can see 1,064 days, almost always to the peak. And then about 1 year later, we bottom. And I've shown this in other ways, like the circle chart from Rational Root, but this is another really good representation of it. for about 3 years, just short of 3 years, go up and to the right with some big moves in the meantime, right? Some big dips. And then a year later, we bottom. So right now, we are getting fairly close to that year mark. That would be in October, November of this year. And then basically 3 years of choppy and up to the right. Of course, like I said, there are big moves down. Some people think we're not in bull markets anymore, and then we continue moving up. So this is one of the best times to be buying. This is one of the best times to be setting up long positions as well. Again, if you want to check out BitFi in the description, in the link tree, or BTCC or UBIT, you can check those out. But yeah, I will be opening up some larger trades, especially when we get into the fall time, September, October, November. I'll be setting up some bigger trades for me to hold for the long term. I do have some trades open as well right now. Let me know your thoughts on the market and what's happening. There's some good deals out there. To be clear, there's some good deals. Even with Bitcoin down 50%, of course it can fall further, but this is typically a good time to be picking up. There are a lot of hyperscalers, a lot of the big tech companies that have been sold off, still down 20% plus from their highs, that I think are just really valuable and really easy to hold long term mentally because they're just such high quality companies. And there's not a lot of volatility. Sure, the stock price might go up and down, but their financials are fantastic. So let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much. I'll see you. Just a reminder, this is not financial advice. This is not legal advice. Do your own research. I'm never going to reach out to you either in the comment section or through any other means to try to get you to invest in something that I'm investing in or to send me crypto. Some links underneath the video are affiliate links. I may earn a commission, but this is at no extra cost to you. Of course, do your own due diligence.